as rookie cops. They gave us the baton and the responsibility to continue this relay. And it was a long, tiring run. And many people believe that the beginning of the race started when Floyd was murdered. But it goes so far back. 42 years ago, watching Arthur Miller murdered by a chokehold. Going back to when I was a little boy watching 10-year-old Clifford Glover shot and killed. Hearing the sounds of police laughter as my brother and I were beat in the 103rd precinct, the same precinct that years later the bullet took the life of Sean Bell. Sitting inside the police academy and hearing other cops saying it was justifiable that Eleanor Bumpus was shot and killed by Sullivan just to be found not guilty. Randolph Evans, Abner Louima, the sodomizing of Abner Louima, the over 40 shots that killed Diallo. And many people often demonize those men and women who put on uniforms to say they must serve to protect without knowing that they were inside these agencies fighting from within. And although they had to go to their own communities and have individuals call them traitors and sellouts, and how could you join that institution, because they understood a long time ago that it's not only about external advocacy, it's about internal fighting and ensuring the movement and the change from within. These men and women, they not only leaning on canes because of the years and the age of time, they're leaning on canes because their bodies have been brutalized with the physical and emotional abuse of being inside an institution that was built out of racism. And these men and women, they are the American heroes. And despite of how they were treated, they never gave up, never gave in. When they were saying Black Lives Matter, when people didn't understand what was happening in policing, look at the black law enforcement that stood around Dr. King during his I Have a Dream speech in Washington. Black law enforcement protected Nelson Mandela when he came to the city. Black law enforcement protected Rosa Parks when she came to visit the city. Black law enforcement had congressional hearings brought here with Roger Abel to call on police abuse. Black law enforcement was talking about stop and frisk. Black law enforcement was standing up. And these are the men and women, and many are not here because they transitioned from the physical to the spiritual. But they fought long and hard. And you don't hear it in part of the conversation. You don't hear these names. They're often attempted to be written out of history. But there's a place for the black men and women who went into an institution of indecency and transformed it to the best of their abilities to a place of decency. And finally, the actions that they did from within is being heard on the outside. And no greater initiative we can take than for there to be a national call in every fraternity of color, every sorority, every organization from the NAACP to the Urban League, to every black church, every black pulpit. If we want to change the police department once and for all, we need to have a national recruitment of the young black men and women to go inside that institution like these men and women have done for so many years. The fight can't only be in the streets It must also be in the agencies that patrol the streets. That is how we change policing. The combination of those who are agitators, legislators, and these communicators. That's how we win. And so I'm proud to be here with these men and women who have been my mentor, who showed me how to be a law enforcement officer, fight for public safety, but fight to dismantle a system where racism is part of its DNA. And we must rewire that racist DNA to finally say Black Lives Matter.